So there's two major events this week. One has already happened and one's going to happen on Wednesday. And I'm going to talk about those in a few minutes, okay? But first, I'd like to say a couple things. You have to watch Bitcoin. I don't care which crypto you're trading. I don't care if you're heavy on Solana, Polygon, or any of the other ones, Avalanche, all of these ones. You have to watch Bitcoin. Why? Simply put, the market will move with Bitcoin. It draws things up and it pulls them down. And so for this reason, we're going to talk about Bitcoin in just a second. And then we're going to talk about, at the very end, we're going to talk about the two things that are super major that you just have to know. All right. So let's get into the Bitcoin discussion. This will be brief. Okay. This is supposed to be a brief video. It's just a quick update, really, but there's just some exciting things going on right now. If you watched my video earlier this week, you'll know that I talked about the price of Bitcoin at a level of around 42.30. There was some resistance. It would hit up to that level and then it would drop back down. And so it felt the resistance. It'd go above it, but it'd come back down and bounce off that resistance. Well, if you look to where we are today, and this is today is Monday. It's Monday evening. Here we are. So if you look at it where we are today, and let's pull this map over here. Let's draw out the time a little bit. Let's get a little closer. You'll notice that today we've had quite an increase. I said that level was 42.30. Okay, so it's right around here, 42,300. And we busted through that in a major move. Then it continued to rise higher. And now we're trickling higher and higher. We're over at 43,600. So exactly what I said. If it can make it through that level, people took some profit right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's not super large on this chart. Let's go to a slightly smaller chart. And then, so when that happened, we went through that level. There's some profit taking right here. And you see it kept going up. It bounced off a new level of resistance at 53,500. And it's bouncing around. Now, if it busts through that tomorrow, it's going to keep going until it finds another level of resistance. So we are kind of bouncing along. We were up as high as 49,000. We went down to 38,000, on the news with the spot ETF approvals. We kind of been bouncing around 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, bouncing off 42. Now we've busted through that level. We're 43,500, 43,600. It's been bouncing around. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going to break out to next. Now, there's two major events this week. We're going to talk about both major events. The first one's already happened. And this is that Google, the behemoth that is Google, has now said they're going to allow spot ETF advertisements on their platform. So why is this important? Well, because that just gives further legitimacy to crypto. And now what you're going to see is you're going to see a battle of the major ETF holders or carriers or whatever you want to call them, exchanges, that they're going to have a battle for the money. And they're going to advertise like crazy, which is going to bring more money into crypto. And the more money that flows into Bitcoin, it will find its way, it always does, into the altcoins. So anything that's not Bitcoin is considered an altcoin. So if you look at some of the other coins right now, like, let's see, we can pick, let's pick Solana, whatever, Sol, S-O-L. And so you'll see that it raised today, same time, broke through some levels of resistance, came back down. But we're going to see this thing, move. It moves along with Bitcoin. If you do an overlay of Bitcoin on there, you'll see it take a similar track. Why is that? Well, these coins, Bitcoin is what everybody watches. It's the gold standard. And everything else, yes, some of them have more different utility, like this one has utility. Oh, shoot, I'm not even showing that screen. If you see here, Bitcoin, this Solana moves along with Bitcoin. Same thing. Raised up, there's profit taking now, and it's going to follow Solana. So, you have to look at Bitcoin to understand this. So if you see me start talking about Bitcoin, that's why. It's because I'm getting more and more into the trading with trading bots like Eazybot, Pionex, and I'm testing two others right now. And I'm going to follow Bitcoin because if I know what Bitcoin's doing, there's a pretty good indication. If Bitcoin's dropping by 10%, you can bet the other ones are going to have a big drop. Now, that's not happening right now. But if you go and look at, let's see, if you look at the price of coins right now, this is Solana. If you look at Bitcoin, I'm doing it again where I'm not showing you my screen. But there is a lot more volume, okay? And that's good, okay? Yes, you're going to see volatility. The less volume, the more volatility you're going to have. And as you see more volume come out, that volatility will chill out a bunch. Okay, so there's another major event. So number one's Google. As Google allows the advertising, you're going to see more advertising dollars to attract more money. The more money that will come in because advertising works, and that's going to give more legitimacy to crypto, and it'll pull more money into the altcoins. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. This is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. Make sure to do your own research, and any other disclaimer or claims, this is purely for entertainment purposes, so take it as you will. So the next big piece of news this week is the Fed's meeting. Now, this is very important because this has to do with the flow of money when you really get down to it, and the current destruction of demand. And so what you saw the Fed do last year was raise their rates an unprecedented amount of times in a row. I think it was 11 times in a row. Why did they do this? They're worried about inflation. Well, there's other things that they control. So number one thing that they do is they try to control inflation. I mean, another one thing that you feel that they do is they try to control inflation through the rate at which they lend money to banks, to the overnight rate or the federal funds rate, whatever you want to call it, whichever tool you're talking about. They also buy a lot of bonds. They'll buy mortgage-backed securities. They were doing that during quantitative easing. Now we're on the opposite end of quantitative easing. They're selling mortgage-backed securities, and by selling something, a bond, you're going to lower the price and raise the effective yield of that bond, which is why interest rates go up. They're also lending out money at a higher rate, and that affects credit cards, car loans, student loans, personal loans, home equity lines of credit, things like that. But another thing they do is they offer a lifeline to banks when they're in trouble. And so they had a $160 billion program last year. You saw a couple major banks fail. And so allegedly, they're going to talk about ending that program. Now, that could send shockwaves through the banking market and send a flow of money into the crypto. That's a possibility, not a guarantee. So don't go making a bet on that and say, Joe told me to do it, because I did not. These are all theories that could be easily proven wrong, and I am not any type of financial advisor whatsoever. So these are all good things to know. So Wednesday is the federal fund, or the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee meeting. They typically release their notes around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be very interesting to watch this. And if on Wednesday you see a spike in crypto, a spike or a drop around 2 p.m., you'll understand why. That's why. And go check that news. So the more bank failures you have, it's going to push, in my opinion, money to crypto. People are going to say banks suck. I'm going to put my money through blockchain, and I'm buying crypto because, Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. That's a theory. I could be wrong on that. Excuse me. And so if you're watching this far, do me a favor. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, put a comment down below. Tell me that you saw this far. But those are my two major news this week. Is that number one, Google's allowing ETFs to advertise on their platforms. Number two, the Federal Open Market Committee, Federal Open Market Committee is going to meet on Wednesday to discuss what they think is going to be going on with the economy. The last couple meetings, they changed the tune from how much more are we going to raise the rates to when are we going to, in the last meeting, instead of saying how much are we going to raise the rates or are we going to talk about more raises, they talked about the potential for lowering of the rates. So how quickly things change. So very interesting meeting coming up. I think they'll soften their stance on raising the rates. I think they'll open up the more possibilities of lowering rates in the future, but they're going to say, we're going to watch inflation. We're going to do what's necessary just so people don't go run out and do dumb things, just kind of their own disclosures. That's all I got. Hope you got some value out of this. If you did, put your comments down below. If you liked it, put your comments down below. If you didn't, and I'll see you next time.